So, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Aura Vasquez and I'm hosting a Get to Know the Candidates. Today we have Erin Darling, who is running for City Council District number 11. And he's going to tell us more about where this is and what is it about and what is he about. And I just want to welcome Erin to our conversation today. Hi, Erin. How are you?
Good. Nice to be here. Thanks for listening, Ada.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I'm excited. You're somebody that is somewhat new in my life, but I'm sure you have a lot of folks that are very familiar to you. But I want to just first start by asking you, about you. Like, who are you? Just tell us a little bit about like your life.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Erin Darling. I'm born and raised in Venice. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I'm a father to a 3-year-old. Basically, I went to public schools, kindergarten through law school. I grew up in Venice in the 80s and 90s. It's a very vibrant, diverse place. I moved back to LA after law school. I graduated from UC Berkeley School of Law in 2008. I moved back to LA. Gentrification had really changed Venice. I was concerned with that, so I began working at a law firm, a nonprofit called Eviction Defense Network.
Uh-huh.
So as a lawyer, I've worked representing low-income tenants facing eviction. I've worked at public counsel, a big nonprofit doing impact litigation. I've worked as a federal public defender, and since 2017, I've had my own practice doing civil rights law. So basically, suing people who've been wronged by government officials, including law enforcement.
Wow, that's so fascinating. So, one of the questions that I have for you, just to hear your background, is why did you went on the line of housing rights and being a public defender? What was it that you chose? I mean, you're a lawyer. You could have chosen 100 things. We're in LA, in the home of Hollywood. You could have been, an entertainment lawyer, for example. But what compelled you to do this work?
Great question. I had no interest in doing entertainment law or corporate law. I think, yeah, I think a sense of unfairness in the world. I knew early on, by the time I was like a senior in high school, where friends of mine from elementary school were already in prison by the time I was headed off to UC Berkeley,
Uh-huh.
and that sense of unfairness that we could grow up in the same place and yet have such drastically different life results by the time we were 18 really stayed with me. And so as I got educated, got politicized in college, I really wanted to use my education and privilege to fight for justice. But there was no one thing. There's not like one, oh, I have to do this. So it could be representing tenants. It could be, I was interested in juvenile justice, school to prison pipeline issues. So I just felt like there was so many ways to lend a hand. So when I graduated in 2008, my friend from law school, Claudia Medina, she was working at this nonprofit Eviction Defense Network. And I just really wanted to jump in, and I got courtroom experiences, and it was really a beautiful experience to like get to know LA as an adult. You go into different courtrooms from Inglewood, Santa Monica, downtown LA, Glendale, East LA, and just going to all the different courts around LA County representing low-income tenants facing eviction and standing up to bullies. At the end of the day, that's what this was. It felt like people were getting bullied out of their homes, or when I became a federal public defender, people were getting bullied into going to federal prison, and it's about standing up.
Yeah. And I want to thank you because I'm a renter myself. So the work that you do is extremely important for so many of us that are, don't own a home. So thank you so much. And I think that the question to follow is, you're running for city council now. Why are you running?
Yeah, great question. I'm running because there's really no real progressive in the race, and I'm running to address the housing and homelessness crisis and to address the local manifestations of climate change. So first off, with housing, I was really frustrating during the failed recall of the current city council person, Mike Bonin. There was all this discourse, a lot of vitriol to the most vulnerable, but also a lot of like blaming one city council person for mass homelessness. And it just is not, intellectually, it just does not, is not correct.
Or it's not data based either.
It's
You
not
can't
data
just blame
based.
one person for
Right.
a full city of
Yeah.
millions of people.
Especially considering that the housing crisis in LA is decades in the making. The city of LA
Yeah.
has not prioritized affordable housing creation they've prioritized market rate development. And we've been seeing gentrification for decades. And so when a pandemic hits and the most vulnerable there's more folks on the streets, it seems like, okay, there's a systemic failure, especially in District 11, which is the West Side, which is the wealthiest district in the city of LA. Like, if we're talking about the wealthiest district in the city of LA and we're surrounded by mass homelessness, obviously there's a systemic problem. So let's address systemic problems, not just have one scapegoat.
Wow, incredible. And maybe I want to just pick your brain a little farther in terms of housing. What do you think is got us here? Why are we here now living in a city that has become very unaffordable, that is basically being built for middle class rich people, where we have, like, people in my neighborhood, for example, we have people, multi-generational families living together because their kids go to college and they cannot afford to live on their own. And they have student loans, which is a whole other conversation that we can have, or they have other type of debt and they cannot find a place that is affordable for them. So what do you think it just got us here?
Great. So first off, let's just acknowledge that LA, the majority of people in LA are renters. So we have to acknowledge that LA is, and also LA has more manufacturing job than any other American city. So LA is a working class city. It's an immigrant city. But, the stereotype of LA is just a sliver. It's literally like a crescent moon of LA. It's not the majority of LA. And even the West Side, growing up, at least in Venice, was an economically and racially diverse place, and it's lost that. So to answer your question, the city of LA has prioritized market rate development. So what does that mean? It means when a single family home gets knocked down and there's a giant development happening, it's not affordable housing. In Venice, I see these big boxes, oftentimes that are empty on the same street that you see homeless people. And so we've seen in downtown, SROs being converted to market rate. We've seen the destruction of a lot of rent-controlled units. And since the late 90s, Costa-Hawkins has basically, from a whole statewide level, has banned expansion of rent control. So you have bad state law, which you got Costa-Hawkins, you got Ellis Act, which allows landlords to get out the rental business and just basically turn them into condos and sell them. And then also Article 34 of the state constitution, which for decades has enshrined under the guise of local control, a form of white supremacy where affordable housing is resisted in a lot of affluent places. So, you've basically have this situation where there's not social housing and public housing being built. There's not more rent controlled units being built. And so there's a shrinking pool of affordable housing. And then the units that are being constructed are not affordable, they're market rate. And then when literally the city of LA can't even create new rent controlled units, right? So it's like a finite pool and it's getting just smaller and smaller every day. And then when we're talking about density, it's market rate. And unfortunately, I think developers have way too much power in city politics. So to answer the question, how we get here, I think it's who's driving the bus in election.
Yeah. So what will you do when you get elected to the city council? What would you do different to bring more affordable housing to Los Angeles and to your district?
Yeah. So on the state level, there's this SB 9, which is going to basically allow single family units to get converted to duplexes and triplexes. And so that there's a kind of infill. So that we know that's happening. So then the question is, what kind of infill will it be? And it has to be affordable. So right now in the community plan, so there's like a general plan for the whole city and there's community plans. On the community plan, inclusionary zoning is only required for 15%. So if new units are being built, that's like literally 15 units of 100 units are affordable. And affordable is not even real affordable. Affordable is like not someone who's like
affordable for who?
Exactly, affordable for whom. So big picture, it's about creating a West Side. So for people who work on the West Side to be able to live on the West Side, to be able to not have to commute hours, each way. And so what does that look like? It's inclusionary zoning. It's transit-oriented development that has to be affordable, real affordable, building more social housing, making it easier to convert to like land trusts. And so there's like a lot of creative things that haven't been scaled up. And then it's also about the development that's happening oftentimes there's these things called exemptions, like on a real granular level, like block by block, lot by lot, where it's like, oh yeah, we'll give you an exception. You could build your little big box, or not little big box, your big box. And it's like, no, like we're not going to just green light development just to have development. Yeah, we need housing, but we need affordable housing. And a local city council person can do a lot to require that in their own backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just invite people to ask questions on the chat. You can just type your questions and we can bring them in. Speaking today to Erin Darling, who is running for City Council District 11 in Los Angeles. And if you don't know what this district is, I want to ask Erin to tell us a little bit about his community. So can you please tell us what composes District 11 and what you love about it?
Sure. So it's the west side of LA, everything in the city of LA west of the 405. So it's the sliver from the Palisades down to LAX. So it's almost like the Chile of city districts, where it's like this long, skinny strip. And so it goes Palisades, Brentwood, West LA, Sawtelle, Mar Vista, Venice, and then Playa del Rey, Playa Vista, Ladera, not Ladera Heights, but Ladera, and then Westchester, and then LAX. And so yeah, it's 330,000 people.
Wow.
And it is the wealthiest district in the city of Los Angeles. And it's increasingly...
It's quite shocking for me, because I would think maybe it's like Hollywood, but I guess you have all the beach area and other communities there. What's the ethnicity and gender makeup of your district, and maybe even economic?
Yeah.
Just to better understand.
Sure. Yeah, it's increasingly less and less diverse. The Venice I grew up in was racially and economically diverse. But now it's the West Side generally, it's majority white. It's majority, I want to say the median age is around 40. And it's, I think it's gender balanced, but it's 35% renters, whereas most districts are over 50% renters. So there's fewer renters than other districts. With that said, there are still a lot of renters. And what else? And historically, the Palisades and Brentwood have been the kind of the wealthiest parts, and then you'd say Venice and Westchester were more middle class and working class.
Wow. Okay, so we talked about a little bit of your background. We talked about your district. I guess now I want to know, what are your priorities in your campaign? What are some of the things that you want to see or that you want to do when you get elected?
Sure. So first off is addressing the housing and homelessness crisis. And just from the outset, when we have to talk about the homelessness crisis as a housing crisis. The city of LA has not built enough affordable housing. Consider the fact that there's 17,000 LAUSD students who are homeless, like literally minors, kids. There's 17,000 homeless kids. Those kids are not homeless because they're on drugs or have mental health issues. They're homeless because their parents have stagnant wages and rents are skyrocketing. So we have a housing crisis. So I'm running to address the homelessness and housing crisis. So what does that look like? One is strengthening renter protections to keep people in their homes. We got like a tsunami of evictions happening as COVID protections lapse. So we got to strengthen renter protections to keep people in their home, including a right to counsel. So anyone who's facing an eviction, it's like a public defender, like you're entitled to a lawyer, because if you're unrepresented, chances are you're going to get bullied out of your home, and then the chances are high that you end up on the streets. Two, it's addressing the mental health issues. So I would really advocating for a citywide mental health response team. So when people call 911, when someone's having a mental health breakdown in the streets, cops come, right? They're not trained for mental health issues. And we should have a citywide approach where trained clinicians, social workers, psychologists deal with someone in mental health crisis. And I'm not just like making this up randomly. The city of Denver has done this, and they've literally never had to even call the Denver Police Department, because this is for nonviolent mental health episodes. And we should have experts dealing with, people who are having breakdowns. Third, though, it's about prioritizing people who have recently fallen into homelessness to get the economic benefits to get them back into housing.
On track, yes.
Back on track. So right now, to qualify for a lot of benefits and housing assistance, you have to be homeless for over a year. That doesn't make sense. If you've recently fallen into homelessness, the longer you're homeless, the more your life
worse it
evolves,
gets.
right? The worse it gets. So it's cheaper and faster and healthier just to say, okay, oh, you need help with a security deposit. You need someone to co-sign. You need a little help for the first and last month. Getting people off, getting over that initial hurdle. Like I surf in Venice. Like every morning I see people sleeping in their cars. They're like nice cars, like a Lexus. People are sleeping in like their Lexuses, you know, because they've recently fallen into homelessness. And so people need, and I'm not just saying that's just as an example. So anyways, the other issue is getting a pipeline of people who are from off the streets into transitional housing and into permanent supportive housing. So we need to hire more social workers. Right now there's like hundreds of unfilled social worker vacancies. We need to pay social workers more. We need to hire formerly unhoused folks to act as housing navigators. We need to be more aggressive in converting motels to housing, commercial spaces to housing. And also, at the end of the day, it's not going to be addressed unless we build more housing
that is affordable.
And so that's one thing regardless of my candidacy, I really want everyone to support is the United to House LA ballot initiative, United to House LA. It would be a tax on commercial transactions, I believe, over $5 million. And that would raise money, like hundreds of millions of dollars to build affordable housing.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I see some folks asking questions in the chat. And thank you for those. And I guess what I want to segue here, and I see more, let's just tackle the questions on housing, because I want to get to the environment, which is like my jam. And a lot of people that know me, they know that my commitment for the environment and all of the work that I have done. So let's tackle the housing questions, and then we'll go back to the environmental stuff.
Cool.
So somebody's asking if there is if currently there is financial resources for mental health crisis response agencies. I'm assuming yes, but I'm gonna let you tackle that. And if it will have to be, hold on, let me see. If it have to be funded by new money, and how?
Sure. So first off, there is a pilot project going on, and I'm suggesting that this I'm proposing that this has to be citywide. In terms of funding, there's a few things. One, the funding would come in from United to House LA would include homeless services, not just housing creation. But also, if we're talking about 911 calls, if we're freeing up LAPD to not respond to mental health crisis, then money should go to a mental health response team. And then it's also just about if we say budgets are moral documents, then yeah, we need to create the funding we need to fund basic human need, and that includes mental health services, because we know in the state of California, since like Ronald Reagan was governor, that there is not a social safety net for mental health issues, right? Like consider the fact that the number one place that people with mental health issues are housed in the state of California is literally LA County Jail. Like that's obscene, right? And so we know that money can be better spent not by locking people up with mental health issues, right? Like we need to there's this already too many people in this jail that doesn't work, and it's freeing up resources to get people in much safer housing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I know that folks are saying that I have an echo, but I don't know how to fix it, so just bear with me. And I want to ask you questions about sustainability, about LA, about climate change.
Yeah.
It has been very disheartening for me to see elected officials, especially in the mayoral election, putting the environment last. The IPCC just released their newest report this week. I mean, they've been releasing it now for a few weeks, and it talks about mitigation. It talks about that we're almost at a point of no return, and that now we just have to figure out how to live with this situation that we have at hand, that we have created. For a long time, we didn't believe the science and thought that this was the normal course of the world, and using cars and plastics and dumping all of our trash in the ocean was going to be okay. But guess what? Now it's not. So my question to you is, how are you planning to tackle the environment? What are your priorities in the environment for your campaign?
Yeah, so that's the number two. Other than housing crisis, it's the local manifestations of climate change is why I'm running. First off, so important that LA has to convert to 100% renewable energy by 2035. I think my sound's weird.
I think my sound is.
Remix.
Okay. This is better.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right. So yeah, LA has to convert to 100% renewable energy by 2035. That's not just like a random number I threw out. The most aggressive DWP.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Well, not just that it's a fact that it's a crisis. It's a fact that LA can actually do it by 2035.
Yeah.
DWP is saying our most aggressive model for getting there is 2035. And that's obviously solar, but it's also, just weaning our way, off of coal and other fossil fuels. And to do that, it will take more money to get it done by, say, 2035 than by 2045 or 2050. But like, this is an existential crisis. We don't have time, right? We've been not having time. And so, but I don't want to say, oh, it's too late. Like we can never, when it comes to climate change, think it's too late. It's not time to act. We have to act like, to quote Angela Davis, you have to act like there's hope, right? And so like we have to act like this is what we do matters, because it does. So citywide, pushing the DWP, which is at this point kind of nominally a public agency, but really is a public agency, to push it to 2035, 100% renewable. Also, for CD 11, District 11, we're blessed with the Santa Monica Mountains, the coastline, Ballona wetlands, and these things are very impacted by climate change. We have increased forest fires, wildfires in the hills. We're going to have increased storms and rising sea levels on the coast. And with Ballona, this is really sad that it's being used as a SoCal gas storage facility. Even though they've phased out oil and gas drilling, it's still being used as a gas storage facility. And there's a real danger, kind of like with the Aliso Canyon disaster, is when you have Playa Vista blocks away from, so like you literally have this dangerous gas storage facility blocks from, a dense residential area. So these are some of like the issues in our own backyard.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about environmental issues, and also give you a heads up of about a few things, and also educate folks that are watching and such. So, and I hear the echo, guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to fix it. Okay, I feel like it's better. I'm just gonna stand here. Cool. But one of the issues that we have in Los Angeles is that we also don't have housing, affordable housing for folks that is affordable for the people that live in the area. We also don't have open space, green space, and parks, because we just don't. Our city planning has not prioritized greening, our like having green space and parks in our area. Yeah. And one of the things that we have been doing, I lost you, Erin, on Instagram, by the way, but I'm gonna keep talking. Just join me on Instagram when you can.
I'll see you.
Yeah. Just come back to the stream and I'll bring you back. But one of the things that we have been doing in let me see if I find you. Oh yeah, here you are. I just invited you. So one of the things that we have been working on, just thinking about how we can get more open space and parks. Maybe while I talk, you should mute your computer. There we go. Mute your computer, and I think that might do the trick.
Mute my computer?
Yeah, mute your computer or lower the volume of your computer a lot. That's what it is. Let's see. Lower it all the way.
All right, my bad if I'm...
All right. No, but okay. Well, we try. And then lower the volume on your phone. Maybe that's what it is too. Okay. All the way. So, yeah, but I don't know. So one of the things that we have been working on in thinking about how to bring more parks to Los Angeles is to utilize playgrounds in elementary schools and middle schools that are already in the community, greening them, making them beautiful, and open them for joint use so that the community can use them after school and on the weekends. As community school parks, that's what it's called, and we have been, really strong talking to Rex and Parks, and I want to give a big shout out to Ready to Help, who is spearheading this effort now for a year, and some other folks. Let me see if I remember. parents for green schools, I think, or people for green schools or such. I think I saw them somewhere, so I want to give them a shout out too. But this is super important because we just don't have space and we don't have the money and the investments for parks. So I want to put that on your radar because it's very important for us to have a place to to go. And this is like a very easy use, and to be honest, it's just lacking leadership. Like there is no elected official that have taken this on, and then it's between the city and LAUSD to kind of work on these efforts. So that I want to keep you. I want to put this on your radar. The other thing that we all need to learn and organize around is to bring more local renewable energy programs. We need more solar for renters. We need more battery storage for renters. We need to make sure that every school in Los Angeles has a microgrid. Every church, every big mall, every place that we can have, we need to decentralize the way that we bring power to our city because we need to democratize it. We need to give it back to the people, power back to the people, literally. Literally giving power back to the people. And the way that we're going to do that is by building and bringing more microgrid technology. Microgrids is simple. You have your solar panels, you have your energy efficiency, you have people in the community working on these things, you have your battery storage, and you're basically a grid, but like tiny in your area. So that's something that we really need to push because LA moved DWP and Mayor Garcetti and the city of Los Angeles move Los Angeles to 100% renewable energy. It's our job now to organize and to work and to demand that these goals are now going first to the people that are most affected by climate change and by pollution. So that's my little spiel for you right now and for all of you that are watching. Erin, I think I lost you on Instagram again.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah. Go for it. What were your reactions?
I was just saying, I totally agree. I have solar panels on my house, and it's super expensive. It's super hard to get into. I don't know if I am on Instagram.
I don't think you are on the stream.
This is struggles real here.
We keep getting kicked out of the internet. I think it's Instagram.
Yeah, it is Instagram.
Is Instagram trying to hate on my sustainability spill? Come on now.
I thought, yeah.
I think you can get out of the stream and come back to the stream. Okay, he left, but he'll be back with us.
You invite me again.
Thank you so much for listening and
I'm
for
sorry
tuning
that this is so technically challenging.
As we wait for Erin to come back, I hope that my environmental appeal is resonating also with you. And if it is, please put a heart in the comments. Let me know what part did you love, what part did you want to ask Erin to kind of implementing his plan. This is why we want to get to know the candidates really early because we can influence them. And you know what? I think the echo is coming from your phone. Did you have a headset on your phone too?
Yeah, I'm headseted up.
True. Okay. Oh well.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, look, I just to go off what you're saying. We have to democratize the grid. That includes, more solar, and we have to get solar anyways if we're going to do renewable, right? And so it also should be batteries. And I was just going to say that it's so expensive. Like, there's the initial hurdle is so high. I don't know what's up with my phone. I'm off. I don't know either. I'm sorry.
Maybe close the app. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll keep talking about something else about sustainability. And if you have any sustainability goals for Erin, go on the chat and post it on the comments. The third thing that I want to put on your radar is that it's getting hot in here, literally in LA and everywhere in the world with climate change and with the climate crisis. And one easy way where we can mitigate this problem is planting more trees. So if you love trees, put a little tree in the comments. Yes, and that really helps with heat island effect. And I hear, and there are now all sorts of trees. I know that people have this notion that, if I plant trees in my, front, in my home, it's gonna destroy the sidewalks, and God forbid we, destroy the sidewalks, if you know what I mean. But this is super important. We need more trees because they help us with, like, tree canopy help us fight heat island effect,
Yep.
clean our air. And actually, there's studies that show that having trees and beautiful neighborhoods helps with safety.
Yeah.
Punta.
So,
So yeah.
to piggyback on that, there's this initiative to basically increase bus lanes and bike lanes. But in the
Yes.
process that we're kind of creating more mass transit and alternatives to cars, we can also green and have greener beltways. So we're planting trees, having more vegetation and medians, and quite frankly, change the face of what a street in Los Angeles looks like. I mean, it's just, if you're imagining a bus lane, a place where cars can park, and then a bike lane, and then trees next to it. Like, that's way different than just the barren, car-lined streets. Because we need to create the infrastructure to get people out of their cars and into mass transit. And then when we're doing that and we're changing the streets, we should be planting more trees and having green belts.
100%. We actually should integrate that on every planning that we have. Every new construction should have a tree goal. How many trees are they going to plant around their area? Bike racks. We should also have bike racks ready to go, and also EV charging stations. I think I want to maybe explore with you what are your thoughts on public transit, and also zero or low emission vehicles.
For sure. So first off, when we talk about mass transit, it can't just be the metro lines that go from, say, the west side to downtown or to the airport. Like, those are important, but we need to interconnect stuff so that, like, people can functionally get around. And that's not just the metro lines, that's like first mile, last mile, with shuttles and buses. So consider the fact that women are the majority users of mass transit, but they're not the majority of users who commute, say, to and from on the metro. So what that says is the mass transit system isn't prioritizing local trips, things that are considered errands, going to the supermarket, picking up a kid from school. These things are mass transit is very gendered in that regard. And so there needs to be better, on the west side, better intra-west side travel. Like I say, like these little shuttles, first mile, last mile, so that when you're just connecting to places, you're not just like getting dropped off at a big metro station and then you're just asked out, right?
And then you're on your own.
And then you're on your own. It doesn't make sense. Like, you need to have just more spokes from that hub. And it also means then that it's easier to bike someplace, right? If you only have to go like 1 mile to get to a mass transit, then you're more likely to bicycle. If you're going to have to, like, oh crap, I have to bike 4 miles, you're not going to do it. So if you have short rides with interconnected bike lanes, and protected bike lanes, by the way, like, we can't just have like some green paint painted on the street and think it's safe, right? It needs to be
so
protected.
difficult. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we basically need to connect our systems, and there's going to be so much money spent in anticipation of 2028 Olympics. And it's like, okay, who's this going to benefit? It has to benefit the residents. It can't just be, say, oh, all the people who are going to come here for a month. It's like, no, this has to have a footprint that benefits everyone in LA, and that's getting people out of their cars. And a lot of people want to get out of their cars, right? It's not like forcing people to get out of their cars. It's saying, yo, you have an alternative where you don't have to be sitting in traffic. Everyone complains about the traffic, but we are all the traffic. We are all the traffic when we're sitting in it, right? And so if people see, oh, look, there's a bus lane, and that bus is rooming past me, like on Wilshire, for instance, in rush hour, I work in K-Town.
I would be more willing to hop on that bus.
Exactly.
Or like I actually gave up my car at the beginning of the pandemic, and I have been biking. And now that, like, things are returning to some sort of normality, I'm kind of fighting if I want to get a car or not.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're kind of, and it's so sad that there's no, like what you said, there's no connection that I can hop on the bus and get here and get there, in my suit, which is, I lived for many years. I went to school in New York, and I lived in New York for many years. And it's so easy there to do that. Yeah. You can be with your suit and your back, your computer bag, and you're rollerblading, or you're on your bicycle,
Yeah.
or you're in the bus, or you're in the subway,
Yeah.
and nobody's dying for that.
Yeah.
Like nobody is like losing anything, for
Yeah.
doing those things. And it's everybody uses, public, transit. So I'm excited to hear, and I'm happy to hear. And I saw one of your constituents wrote, "This is really important to me, and this really matters." So I also invite folks that are watching to share this live after, and because the conversation always continues, we can always go back and respond on the comments. But okay, lastly, we've been talking now for a while, and lastly, I want to ask you. You're a grassroots candidate, you're a new candidate, and I was also a grassroots candidate at some point of my life, and it can be so difficult. And I want to ask you, what are some of the most difficult parts? And maybe if you can share an anecdote about what has been the most difficult thing for you on running for office.
Sure. First off, I want to say it's actually been fun, and I've really enjoyed it, connecting with people. But yeah, there's so many institutional hurdles for people running for office. And one thing I'd say is like you basically have to quit your job. Like if you're a working person who has bills to pay, you can't really afford to do it. And that really means a lot of working people who would be great candidates, who would be great elected officials, can't run. And so people are priced out, and that's really unfortunate. Like I was very lucky that two big cases of mine settled. So it like kind of freed me up to do this. But like not everyone's a civil rights lawyer, or a lawyer just generally, right? And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest hurdle, and it's really unfair.
Share with us a story or an anecdote of something that you love about running for office.
Gosh, I feel like after 2 years of social isolation with the pandemic, it's just like connecting with people and connecting with issues, and just like feeling like there's a community again. Like I've just appreciated doing in-person events, and just connecting with people and neighbors, because there's so much on the West Side. There's so much like vitriol during the recall, and like just negativity. And I think we got to treat each other as neighbors, and connecting as neighbors just feels better. It feels like you're part of a community, as opposed to just if you're living life on social media and it's just that, and you're not in person, it's very isolating.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, what happened to me actually was that I ran for office, and then the pandemic started a week after.
Oh,
and when I didn't make it to the general, and it was a blessing. I mean, I was just so exhausted. I'm sure you right now, elections are in June 7th, right? Primaries.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, it's really getting crunch time. And I so appreciate your being here with us and talking to us about your campaign. And if people want to support you and get involved, how can they do that?
Thank you. Yeah. So first off, it's 2 months away. So this is totally crunch time, but it's also like we've got good momentum. We're feeling good. I've been endorsed by State Senator Ben Allen. I've been endorsed by Assemblyman Isaac Bryan. I've been endorsed by the International Longshoremen, ILWU, which is great progressive union, grassroots groups from Westchester, Mar Vista. It's just been like a true community effort, and so I feel like just come on and join. Like we're going to do this by talking to neighbors, pounding the pavement, canvassing. So check out my website, erindarling11.com. That's ERIN, last name Darling 11 for the district. So Erin Darling 11, and there's a link to donate. There's a link to get involved. And yeah, like I've been so blessed to all these amazing volunteers, people who feel like, yeah, the soul of the West Side is at stake in this election, and like let's elect someone who represents our values. And to do that, It's just about connecting with neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to also remind people that are watching that, the money in politics is real. There's a lot of outside interest. There's a lot of interest that are now with renters. There is a lot of interest that are now with working class people. So we need to be organized people and organized money. And this is how we win. So if you're thinking that you need to have a huge amount, the max amount to donate in elections in Los Angeles, in local elections, is $800. If you have the $800, go ahead and do it. But if you have $10, go ahead and do it now,
For real.
because the time is now. And it's so important. And Los Angeles has a matching fund program that if you are actually in Erin's in District 11, you can help him get a chunk of money that is allocated for candidates. And that is such a great way to get to the to the next level, to the finish line. And it really shows how much support you have from everyday people, from grassroots people, which is so important. So guys, if you want to come and knock on doors, go ahead and do that, because that's being organized. And if you want to donate, do that. And if you want to do both, please do it. Choose a candidate that you love. Maybe choose a candidate that is in your community and support them, because it means so much. And I tell you, as a former candidate, it means so much when someone, shows up out of the blue and says, you know what, I'm going to go collect signatures, or I'm going to go knock on doors, or I'm here to make phone calls. So I'm making this appeal to you guys. And I'm also want you to get educated and get involved. So thank you so much, Erin, for being here. Are there any last words that you want to share with us?
No, I just on that, it's such a game changer with the matching funds, and I've qualified for it. So I feel like, we're in the game, and just, especially if you live in the district, even $10 makes a big difference. So just every little bit helps, because, if we raise 11,400, it equals 80,000, like straight up $80,000. Boom.
Triple that money, people. Yes. No, six times, no?
Six times.
Six times. Guys, $10 turn into 60. Let's go.
Yeah. So like that's a game changer. And yes, it's going to be knocking on doors, but yeah, we also have to reach people with mail, social media, etc.
And listen, if you have a skill, like I remember in my campaign, we had a creatives team.
For sure.
People that were photographers, that made videos, that wanted scripts. And some people were like, I want to do a script about the environment. I want to follow you knocking on doors. Everybody kind of did their thing, and we love everyone, and we welcome everyone. And we were like, yes, let's do it. I have professional writers, writing, like helping me draft, like making sure that things were cohesive. But so like, if you have a skill, and if you have website capabilities, talk to me about how important that is, because you're constantly putting your stuff. So whatever talent you have, bring it on and get involved. So thank you so much, Erin, for being here with me today. I so appreciate you.
Yes.
And for all of you out there that are watching, thank you so much. The conversation always continues on social media. So please feel free to share this video. Tell us in the comments what you think. And I'll see you next week on the next Get to Know the Candidate. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Check out my website, and just it's great getting to know you. So thank you so much, Ada.
Thank you. Bye.